How to prevent solder bridges with a soldering iron. Imagine you're working on your RC toy, and suddenly a tiny solder bridge causes a short circuit. That little mistake can be frustrating and hard to fix. So, how do you keep those pesky bridges from happening in the first place? Let's walk through some simple, effective tips. First, use a fine, narrow-tip soldering iron. This helps you target small areas precisely, so you don't accidentally connect to pads or leads. Next, only apply enough solder to make a solid joint. Too much solder can easily flow into unwanted spots and cause bridges. Remember, less is more when it comes to solder. Flux is your best friend here. Applying a small amount of flux before soldering helps the solder flow smoothly and stick only where you want it. It also prevents solder from sticking to places it shouldn't. Keep your component leads trimmed short. Long leads tend to bend and touch other parts, increasing the risk of bridges. When working, keep your workspace clean and organized. Clean surfaces and tidy wires make it easier to see what you're doing and help solder flow properly. Heat the joint just enough to melt the solder and form a good connection. Don't leave the iron on too long, or you risk overheating and causing solder to flow uncontrollably. If a solder bridge does happen, don't panic. Use a soldering iron tip wetted with fresh solder or a piece of solder wick, also called desoldering braid, to carefully draw away the excess solder. After fixing, always test your joints with a multimeter to make sure no unintended connections exist. When working on RC components, these tips are especially important because small, closely spaced parts are common. Using the right tools and workspace setup makes your soldering cleaner, safer, and more reliable. Keep practicing these steps, and soon solder bridges will be a thing of the past in your RC projects.